Audra and Roman inviting guests and holding space to discuss the healing journey to reunite with our true selves.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to share our feed here.
Do that. I tried to share a couple of minutes ago, and if you guys wait for everybody to join in, but kind of short notice. So, how's your book going?
It's going well. It's been a little bit quiet. I think probably because of the COVID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I struggling to share this?
Well, because we're talking about something very important today, right? We're talking about disassociation, and I'm super cool about it. You see, total poker face.
I'm having trouble sharing it. I'm not going to worry about it.
We do what we do. So if you guys, I don't know who's watching, but if you see it, please share with your favorite groups, because we're going to talk about today disassociation.
I say disassociation a lot too, but so if you hear us say disassociation, we're actually saying dissociation. We add an A in there. I do the same thing, but it's actually technically dissociation.
Exactly. It comes with a dis. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how have you experienced disassociation?
So I'm Audra, and
I'm disassociated.
That's exactly what's
Welcome
happening.
in our circle. I'm sober for 500 days.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Where am I? Why am I here? So I'm the author of Moving Mountains, A Hero's Journey. It's my memoir. I talk about my trauma that I've been through, the healing journey through it. I'm still on a continuous healing journey. I think that we're always on a healing journey, as you know, it's part of our evolution. So I've experienced dissociation a lot in my life. And, you know, I don't think people realize that even if you haven't experienced trauma, people experience dissociation all the time, like on a daily basis. If you find yourself daydreaming or thinking about the past or the future, you are dissociating. You're not in the present moment. You're dissociating from what's happening right in front of you.
I totally agree with you. I see this working with dogs. I don't know, it sounds irrelevant, but it is. It helped me a lot recognizing when the moment of dissociation kicks in is where you're either in the past or in the future, but not becoming aware in those three aspects: mind, body, spirit. In that moment, you're just not there. I'm Roman, by the way, and I was
gonna say,
yeah, I was like, I'm a complex trauma survivor, and I remember my first dissociation was as a very young child. I did a lot of role plays. I struggled a lot with my parents, so I basically created my own world that I was living in, and I had a lot of toys that I was playing with. So I played different roles to the point that my stepmother would step in the room and see who I'm playing with, because I also changed voices. I changed locations. I was just basically not myself, and I had fun with it. And it ended up working the same way in school, you know, and in my relationships. I was basically at that borderline of literally only needed me to be in myself, and in order to get from point A to point B and not hitting a wall. Otherwise, I was always off a little bit here, a little bit there, to the point that I actually have ADD. Voila. And so that as things get stressed, I totally shut off and I basically don't remember anything. I just like, what? We didn't have that conversation. What are you talking about? Oh, squirrel, and be gone, because I couldn't handle the stress. So for me, I'm not having out of body experience that some people do, but I do have a totally not sense of time. It just lose time. Where were you been? Like, I was to Home Depot, like, for 4 hours? No, it wasn't for 4 hours. I just left there. And then not recognizing that totally time passed by in my world, right? I remember talking to people on the phone and then don't remember who I was talking to. Like, totally off while I'm driving a car. Okay. I don't think I was hearing voices in my head, but I did have a lot of, let's say, guilt voices. You're not good enough. You're this, you're that. Basically, not being physical in the reality anymore. Who I was and what I did and why I did it. Sometimes I froze. Like, if somebody challenged me, asking questions like, why didn't you clean up? Like, I'm having a construction job, okay? And remodeling our house in a healing center. And Barbara comes in and says, why is this on the floor? I immediately gone, poof, out. And I was like, totally goes in defense mode just because of a question. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be the one being asked why that is here, and totally go in a trauma space. I have to get back again. So I physically have to pull myself back again and be conscious. She just wants to know why this is on the floor. It's not a personal attack. I don't need to leave. I don't need to be defensive. I don't need to become aggressive. I don't need to be a different person. So it came to that extreme, and as I almost took over your story here, but I will get back to you, where I was literally trying to be a good boy because who I was did not fit the purpose. I was always being attacked. So I was trying to be the good boy, not being myself. I think I was in my late 30s, where I physically had to think about what I like and what I don't like. How do I want my toothbrush to be? What kind of side in my bed I want to lay? Because I was never myself. So, yeah, that's a shortcut of my story. But you had even a more traumatic experience. Tell me about that.
Well, first of all, I want to say that what you just talked about is like the perfect example of dissociation. It's not feeling safe in your body and feeling like you need to go somewhere else. And generally it's like when something is actually happening in the moment, or we feel triggered, like when Barbara would say, why is this on the floor? For whatever reason that triggered you, you felt like you needed to be defensive. And so you automatically want to just leave the situation. For me, I think I've existed a lot of my life in a state of dissociation. Dissociation feels very similar to denial to me. Like, I never was in denial about the things that had happened to me. I had them buried so deep that I didn't even think about them, but I was so like, to cope with reality, I was in dissociation a lot. Like, I experienced dissociation a lot. I have been really working on that because I've been noticing it. Like we talked about earlier, if you're thinking about your past or your future, or you're daydreaming, and there's nothing wrong with like daydreaming or anything like that. It's not like you're trying to escape something, but the definition of dissociation is like not being in the present moment. And I've been trying to be a lot more mindful about being in the here and now. I feel like I went through quite an episode after I launched my book, like after the high of actually launching it. And I had to actually sit with my feelings about, oh my God, my story's out there. My book is out there. People are reading it. Like all those old feelings started coming in. Like, what are people going to think? The judgment, like just all old stuff, the old patterns. However, I did participate in a healing ceremony, and I received a message in the ceremony, and I misinterpreted the message that I had received. And I had to do a lot of work with my therapist about it, because the I said it again, disassociation. The dissociation that I was experiencing around the rape that I had experienced earlier in my life, it was so bad and extreme that I told my therapist, I said, I kind of have some sort of inkling to what someone that has a split personality might feel like. Because I literally felt like I was two different people. And then when I started processing what I experienced in the ceremony, I realized that I had just misinterpreted the message. So another thing that I wanted to say about like what I was experiencing, like I literally experienced a meltdown after the high of launching my book, and a lot more emotions started coming up around the traumas. And it was really hard for me to handle all that, because now not only was I dealing with my stuff, I was dealing with like my stories out there. Like I was absolutely terrified. And I went to my default program, which is dissociation.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of work and being mindful about being in the present moment. Some of the things that I've been doing to help me stay in the present moment. I've been doing meditation every morning. That gets me centered and aligned. I've been walking a couple of miles before I go to work every day, and really trying to be in tune, like with the walk, looking through the neighborhood, like enjoying the sunshine, and not just like listening to music and kind of like being anywhere but where I'm at. So I've noticed that those type things, like grounding type things, have really been helpful for me in staying present.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you feel from your family side, people were dissociate too in relationship to you?
I would say yes, and also no. Like, I think that because everybody experiences dissociation to some degree, that because they're in their own experience and I'm in my own experience, that there is probably some sort of a disconnect. And also, I, like you were talking about how you were two basically like two different people just to manage your reality. I don't, earlier in my life, I don't want to say that I wasn't showing up as me, because I believe it was me, but I think that there was a lot of myself that I was hiding because I didn't think that it would be acceptable. So there was a lot of like detachment with myself.
I feel dissociation is a natural, healthy response from my perspective. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just observing nature and observing myself, how I function. When we look at nature, at some point, if you're being attacked by a predator, you have to leave feelings behind and get your ass to safety. At that point, you have to stop feeling pain. You have to stop feeling just fear, or try to orient in your environment, see how you socially appropriate. All you do is to run in one direction, and you are not yourself anymore. You are a prey. It's a self-defending, it's a how you call it, self-preservation thing. but it lasts for a short period of time. And before it becomes a trauma, you shake it off. Pooh, I got myself out of shit, you know? I shake it off and be good with it. I got safe. I learned from it. But if that becomes a permanent situation, for example, sexual assault, physically assault, child abuse, combat experience, torture, capture, a car accident, a natural disaster, you're there for a long period of time. It just becomes something constantly push you. You have to shut it off. And at some point is where that whoop apart. You're safer feeling good in your own world that it's not the reality, because the reality is unbearable. Now, how do you get out of there? Instead of helplessness, the best way is to pop out. What do you think? I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just, throwing out things.
I totally hear what you're saying. Like, I totally get it. And on some levels, I agree with it. Like, when you're in a traumatic situation, that's how you survive it. Like, that's how you literally survive that situation. You pop out. However, I think because of that popping out, we tend to then denial starts. Like, when the actual event is over, then you're trying to move forward with your life and you're trying to process. I think that because of the dissociation that occurred during the trauma, denial starts to come in, almost like it didn't happen to you. Because even now, like, I've faced all my traumas. I went through cognitive therapy. I wrote a book about it. Like, I'm still doing healing work around it. I still can't believe, like, there's parts of me that still can't believe, that disassociate, that I went through all that. And I don't necessarily think that that part of it's healthy. I think I totally get it. Like what you're saying, like going through the trauma, it's a self-preservation. It's a defense, self-preservation thing that happens. But then afterwards, it's like, how do you start accepting that really happened to you so that you can process and heal through it? It's really hard when dissociation occurs, because I think then it opens the door for denial and you feel disconnected from yourself. You're like, that wasn't me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think when you go into this level of PTSD response, being constantly safer there than you're here, there are mental disorders coming up, like acute stress disorder or borderline personality disorder, or obsessive compulsive disorders, eating, hooking on computers and just basically shutting off. You need support, external support, to capture the moment that you're not unable to see. Because in that moment that you're not experiencing that pain anymore, or you don't want to see the event anymore, and you're off, how would you heal that if you're not there?
Right.
And I think you did the right thing. And I appreciate you sharing those options, because people think like, you know what? I just got to my cheers, or let's smoke something, or let's dope or something, or let's hook up on my computer's game and I never get out of there, or you know what, let's put an end on it. And I've been in that situation that I thought, train is coming, bridge is here, I only need to jump, and I'm already leaning over, and I was like, you know what, I'm not doing myself that favor. It's not right. I don't feel good about it. And then I stopped doing it. So something in my brain told me not to, but at least I had such a little bit brain left for me to call it off. Some people don't have that little brain left over because they're completely disassociated. What was the trigger for you to search for help?
Because I had, you mean like going through cognitive therapy?
Yeah.
Going through school to get clinically certified in hypnotherapy, I learned so much about the subconscious mind that I could I could clearly recognize the patterning that was happening within my life. And I knew that something was happening on a subconscious level as far as core beliefs, that kept creating this same pattern. So I didn't know really. I kind of had an idea what it was, because like I said, I never denied that I went through the trauma, but I had dissociated, so like literally, so I didn't have to feel anything around it. I would just have to definitely say that it was the learning that I received about the subconscious mind, and then being able to recognize the patterning in my own life. And I'm like, okay, I need to reconnect, and I need to deal with this, because I didn't want to live my life patterning those same patterns. It was awful.
Did you take any medication?
So the only time I took medication was when I was writing my book, and I had just finished writing the chapter about being raped. I had such a hard time coming back from that. Like I experienced a lot of depression. I was experiencing a lot of dissociation because a lot of the feelings around that event were coming up, and I was having a really hard time managing all of that. And I did take an antidepressant for probably I think it was about 5 months. And then I felt like I didn't need it anymore, and I went off of it. And
Well, I was diagnosed with adult ADD in 2008 or 9, and I went into treatment with Adderall, and I missed the other word now. And I didn't do well on those. I become actually aggressive. Like I was totally on edge, and I feel better once I did slow release. I did a quick release in the morning, and then slow release throughout the day, and then a quick release at night to cover the whole day of my living, because my ADD was really, when I got stressed, really forgetting things. And I had 13 dogs to take care of. Forgetting a dog is not a good thing,
right.
And clients working, and the house was the property we're living, and the house was in foreclosure, and the whole thing collapsed around me. And I was like, I had a hard time because I didn't take any other medication. I don't drink alcohol. I didn't smoke. The only thing I tried was, ADD medication, and that didn't go well. So I had to reach out to healthy food. That helped me a little bit. I had to get off my snack addiction and snacking whatever comes ahead. I was lucky to go through different phases in my life where I was dealing with different types of therapy without actually consciously looking for it. How fun is that? I put myself in situations. So I didn't do cognitive therapy, but I did a little bit of hypnotherapy in the past as a young person. I was playing around with the idea a little bit. Family treatment was not an option because none of my family totally denial what's happening.
They weren't willing to participate?
Well, they didn't even, I don't remember going to a therapist with my parents, considering that my father is my real father, but I was early, go into my stepmother. My stepmother was abusive. We were in a war zone. We left war zone. I went to a boarding home with my grandparents. My grandfather has dissociation. He's a World War II survivor and captivity in the Russian camps. And there are a lot of things going on in the household, and nobody looked into it. I sometimes question myself: did it really happen? Was I really there? Did this event really happen?
See, I think that we think those things because in the moments we disassociate from it.
Right. But reading now up, there is plasma trauma treatment. There is dialectical behavior therapy. There is eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, a hypnotherapy that you do. By the way, do you do treatments? Like,
I
can I
haven't
sign up?
I haven't practiced hypnotherapy for quite some time. I was still doing a lot of energy work during my own healing, like going through cognitive therapy. But when I started writing the book, I scaled. Like I even kind of stopped doing the energy work because I was just trying to survive. I didn't really have anything more to give than than what I was
Yeah, yeah.
doing. So I haven't really been practicing a whole lot lately.
I was lucky to meet Barbara at some point, like recently, and that basically helped me get over the things that I haven't done yet so far. Um, she's an energy healer, and we met actually doing energy work on one of my dogs. And since she was a reconnective healing practitioner, I had already experience with reconnective healing, going through that process of therapy. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw how she works with dogs, and I was like, can you do it with me too? And I basically started doing a healer journey, like going into my intuitive skills, that working with my intuitive gifts that I have. And all of a sudden, my work as a dog trainer opened up a completely new field, dealing with my own trauma while helping people deal with their own trauma while they're dealing with the dog's trauma. It become kind of like a healing circle.
Yeah.
Each other helping. And so I was recognizing that through my experience, I can find those patterns on people that happening with them and their dogs. The dogs coming out of a trauma, projecting or pointing out their own traumas, and all of a sudden I can see the whole picture. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, we have a situation here. Let's see that and see this. And all of a sudden, things kind of like, oh, now that makes sense. Now I remember. And all of a sudden things change without going again through a trauma.
Where's Misha?
Oh, she's in the here. She is.
She's in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Thank you. Trauma. It's trauma.
Trauma kicking. Where's Misha? Where's my dog? And all of a sudden, I'm recognizing a healing process starts using your animals. And that was my healing journey, starting with animals, recognizing my own trauma and recognizing how disassociation works with animals, how I work with them, and how I can see when I change and how the dogs respond to that change. And all of a sudden, therapy dogs. Working with a dog is therapy. And when you're disassociate and you're not the same person, the dog will pick up on that because you're not normal.
Right.
And then you have all these behaviors around that. I'm just not about dog training today. I just want
no,
to mention
that's
because many
no,
of us,
that's super powerful, Roman. Super powerful.
And so that was the reason why I created a completely modality. Let me share the link here. I should have it somewhere here. Yep, here it is. And I create that modality. It's Spot Heal is the website, but this synergistic healing where I have people doing a journey with their dogs, and their dogs basically walk them, the spirit of the dogs, walk them through a process, identifying the trauma that sits in their body. And sometimes because of dissociation, the dog expresses that trauma so they can see it and trace it back to the source, even if that trauma, that dissociation is not really related with their physical experience, but inherited from their family line. So it's not something that happens to you, it's something that can happen in your family line, and you'll be basically programmed into it to dissociate and live that life of dissociation without actually knowing what happened, until you got that wake-up call that says, oh, wait a minute, we have a whole history of that, like my grandmother and my father, and I'm here to clear the path. And I recognize that many healers, just like you and me, are going through that process to heal those aspects and pointing them out. It says, you know what, I want to stop this from happening. I want to go back to my body and see what my family heritage is about. So we see all these cultures, like the Jewish culture, the Armenian culture, the Native Americans, the Hispanics, like wherever you look at, we have all these displacements and this trauma moving in, and people just not being themselves anymore because they just couldn't bear the weight of leaving their country, leaving their families behind. And that totally changed the persona. And I think that is an aspect that, unfortunately, we're not looking into that, but it's a big thing. So we try to heal it. It always come back again. I was like, what happens? Why isn't it working? Is it me or something? Sometimes it's not really us. Sometimes it's just energy, as you mentioned before. Doing energy work, you can work on that. That's beyond your physical and etherical body. It's somewhere else sits, and we can chase it and trace it back. What else? Do you guys who watch here? I don't know where you are. We are in Wisconsin. Jesus, I'm totally dissociated.
Totally
I'm in Oregon.
dissociating. Where are you,
Oregon.
Roman? Oh my gosh.
Wow, I just spaced out. That's life. So you are in Phoenix, right? I'm in Oregon. Yes, I'm in Oregon, right? It's me here. My name is Roman. Yeah.
I wanted to comment on something that you said about how like the healers like doing their work. I've come to a place where I genuinely believe that I've experienced all the things that I have so that I can help other people through if I don't know where someone's coming from, because I've never even remotely experienced anything like it, how am I going to help them? How am I going to have compassion? How am I going to have empathy? How am I going to have understanding? How am I going to be relatable to this other human soul? So I firmly believe that I've been through these things so that I understand and know. But like you said, it's important for the healer. Like, you have to do your work. You can't bypass and dissociate your own experience and your own life and think that you're going to be able to go out and help other people. Like, you have to do your work. So I just wanted to say that because you said something and it sparked that thought within me, because it's so, like, a lot of times healers go into the healing world. Like, I know when I started doing energy work, and even when I went into hypnotherapy, I was subconsciously trying to tell myself I needed to heal, and I went in to do all this work to help others. And it's a beautiful idea and it's a beautiful thought, but we need to do our own work.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen many people who are in the healing. I don't want to call it industry, but I have to call it industry because some people feel like it's kind of like something you choose to make money. They don't see the service behind that, and they just jump on the wagon, start becoming coaches, blah blah blah, not doing the self work, and take people down with them, like going into this guru mentality and living this like virtual reality of, oh, I did this and I changed my life. This is totally BS, because no, you don't. I know you're in person. You're not that person you pretend to be. Like, give me a break. And you hear them like talking on videos and doing, this short videos shows that kind of like are now very in, and put their makeup up. They don't even themselves anymore. It's kind of like 5 pounds of makeup so they can show good on screen. It's not just females, males too. Or the vice versa. I'm not being sexist here, but I see also people just through tips out there what to do and how to get healed from trauma, especially with dissociation. It's very extreme because nobody really deals with it, but everybody talks about it. And I really appreciate you taking the time today and digging in your past life and actually talk about that, of both the good sides and the bad sides. And I wish people will watch this and kind of think about it. Wait a minute, am I or am I not? Am I sick, feeling dissociate? Am I a victim? Can I survive it? Can I get out of there? What would be your suggestion?
I think that a lot of people, I don't think, when people are experiencing dissociation, I don't think that they really, a lot of times, unless they have some sort of awareness or mindfulness practice, they don't even realize it's happening, and then after it's happened, they don't realize that it has happened. So I don't think that they're purposefully like, I don't really know where I'm going with that thought. You had said something and it made me feel like I needed to say that a lot of times I think people don't even realize it's happening to them.
I agree.
So I think that part of knowing when it's happening to you, if you find yourself that you're struggling to be in the present moment, you're dissociating. If you're constantly living in the past, because the only thing that's happening is what's happening right now. You can have thoughts about your past and, thoughts about the future. And I had a lot about my past, like until I did a lot of healing work around it, I lived in my past. Like I could not, and it's weird because not necessarily like thinking about all the traumas that were happening, but all the core beliefs that were created because of that kept me living, like literally looping in the past. And I didn't even realize that I wasn't even present in my moment, living here and now. So there's a lot of, if you find yourself not like in the present moment or drifting or like you said, this was a perfect example, Roman, when you said Barbara came in and said, "Why is this on the floor?" And you immediately wanted to leave your body because it triggered you. And all she asked was a question. Like she didn't mean,
Right,
she just,
right.
Like if you find yourself reacting to a basic question, like you're being triggered around it and you're wanting to automatically like leave your body, then you might want to explore why is that I'm doing that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I often see people also tend to go into sex addiction, trying to dissociate from their trauma and pain, just live a completely different way of sensations, forced sensations.
It's the same with drug addiction.
Yeah. I just popped in my mind. It's like, oh, wait a minute,
It's to escape the reality. You're doing something to pull you out of the moment from dealing with whatever feelings that are coming up or arising. It's like, I don't want to feel this. This is too scary. I can't handle it. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to, like you said, sex addiction, drug addiction, like those go hand in hand with dissociation. And another thing that you had mentioned, you were talking about PTSD, but dissociation is like one of the number one symptoms of PTSD.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You sent me a couple of things that I wanted to share here. They're very interesting. And of course, here it is. So that's a very cool post. I like it because it's very simple, and this one, let me fix that a little bit because there are too many buttons on it. Now you can read it, right?
Yeah.
And the other one that I really liked was this.
Yep. That's so powerful. That one right there is so powerful.
So let's read that. When we exist within unresolved trauma in the mind, body, the nervous system can default to the dorsal vagal or shutdown, where dissociation becomes our normal lived experience. I know I'm going back to dogs because that's my specialty. I see a lot of times where dogs, through punishment, through different way of treatment, and of course that affects also children, because we come from a parenting perspective where neglect kicks in and people not even be aware of neglecting their children. Like, yeah, well, deal with your friends. And then I'm busy working, right? Or, you know, make your own food, kind of those things. Look, little things that just add up. Dogs and children are very sensitive on that. And it causes them to dissociate very slowly, and they go into their space. And then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lose our children and our dogs in this kind of field. And we don't know what's happening. Suddenly, we ask the dog to do something, and suddenly we tell the child to do something, and we have an explosion happening in front of our house. Anger explosion, reactivity on dogs, for example. Children become violent, hitting the brothers and sisters. It just explodes because they just cannot handle it anymore. And then we blame them for that, not really seeing that we actually caused it. Because I don't think somebody starts dissociate because he has fun with it. It doesn't come like that. It really comes with one or more events that are stuck or events that last a long time. And I think if that would be the case, even if you're not aware that you're dissociate, maybe you should just check in on that. Let's see, wait a minute. I had an out-of-body experience. When did that happen? Oh, well, I had sex with my boyfriend, and, you know, oh, wait. Where was that? Boom, here you go. That's something. Or, you know, I get emotionally numb. Somebody says, I love you, and they're like, oh, cool.
I still have a lot of emotional numbness, and it's been something that I've been very aware of. And I know that it's a lot of that is because of the dissociation that I've lived a lot of my life in. And I've been doing a lot of work on trying to reconnect with myself. It's like I almost, because I've dissociated for so long, I don't know how to receive. I'm terrified.
Right. Because you feel you're going to that pattern, because many people give a lot, give their trust, and it was broken. The reason why we are where we are is because something went wrong down the lines. And so trying to get back to those lines, meaning is you have to go through that hurdle of automatically fear response. What if it happens again? Because I made that decision, I went into it, or it happened without my decision. I'm not in control of my space and my time and my body. I'm not just going in there. And unfortunately, people who love us and people who care for us want to come into our space and help us, love us, care for us, and we don't take it. We become avoidant because we don't want to go into that space again. Mm-hmm. We have in Greece a word saying, if you get burned, you also cool down the yogurt. So even the yogurt is cold, you're gonna blow it so it cools down. So just in case you're gonna burn yourself with the yogurt, right?
Yeah, because
Then I see people who totally have no sense of time. What time are you coming? Oh, I'm coming at 1. Yeah, kind of, sort of. I think about it. And then they come at 5 and you're like pissed at them. And like, you know what? You're not friends anymore. I'm sitting like half an hour in the car waiting for you. People in the stress mode totally shut off time because in that stress time, they had to leave time.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people have tunnel vision, or, you know, they hear voices or flashbacks. Like I remember having a situation where my girlfriend kind of got very sensual about stuff, and I got flashback being touched by a priest. And you're like, wait, what? The girlfriend? What does it have to do with the priest? Well, it was a very intimate moment. It was a sacred moment, and that secrecy happened when I was in church. And all of a sudden, the whole thing blew off.
Yeah.
You know, shit. But
another thing, what were you going to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Something that you've brought up a couple of times is like the memory loss, the time loss, the memory loss. That is a huge thing that goes along with dissociation, is that memory loss or lapses of time. And it's strange because, like, I feel like I'll remember something for a certain amount of time, and then when it hits a certain time frame, like a year period, I can't remember it anymore. And then it will come back like 5 or 6 years later. So when it hit, it's very strange, and I don't know how to explain it, but.
Well, I did a little bit of digging around that, and I was lucky to know people, I don't need to mention names right now because of the privacy, that don't remember certain years in school. Now, explain. How can you not remember your 4th grade? Like the whole thing. What happened? Why the 4th grade? Why not the 3rd and the 5th grade? Why don't you remember how you end up in this dog park? Why don't you remember how you end up in this party? And if you go to the more extreme, I know people who are very sensitive beings to the point that they can hear voices, they can experience other energies, they're being taken over because they're not in the physical body, because they leave when they get stressed. Mm-hmm. And they're constantly in this disassociated state because literally somebody else occupied it, because we left it. It's kind of like you're leaving a car alone in the desert, somebody will pick it up and drive off with it. It's still your car, but it's not because you're not in it. So, and I was lucky to meet Barbara, and she's an intuitive healer, and she helps a lot of people with those kind of situations. Just help them gain back themselves, recognizing the skills they have and why they got to that point of being so receptive to things. It's not a bad thing. So sometimes we should turn our trauma and our experience into our superpowers. Just
yes.
Okay? Let's superpower it. Mm-hmm. And I made my superpowers, my ADD, not being able to work in a job that is consistent pressure and have to remember all those things. I ended up doing what I finally love, working with dogs. Doesn't mean I'm less productive. Doesn't mean I'm a failed business person, because I used to work in industry for 25 years. I'm very successful, but it was too much pressure to me. I just didn't last the pressure anymore. I had always flashbacks about stuff, not being good enough, not being cared by the job. People hate me, and I was always in that stressor. I just didn't like it. I left. I had to leave. Mm-hmm. And you know, my relationship suffered from it. My job suffered from it. My dogs suffered from it. I suffered from it. So I said, you know what, that has to stop. And it took me another 10 years to kind of get to the right tracks, because I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any books. We didn't have internet back then. Oh, yes, we did. DSL, like logging in and going in the forums, not figuring out. And I did not have the brain for those forums. I still cannot work with them. Facebook is the best option I have right now.
You're a computer genius, Roman.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm a disaster.
You're my go-to. I'm like, he's like a computer wizard.
Yeah. Okay. So how about you guys who watch? How do you guys who watch this deal with it? And I know you guys want to have your privacy, but you know what? Yeah. At some point you have to talk about it, and sometimes just go bold. If you cannot hide it, put it out there. Like, yeah, I disconnected. I sometimes feel I'm like a diva, and sometimes I feel like nobody. Sometimes I feel like I'm the super person, and sometimes I'm like, I want to hide myself. When is that? When does it happen? What happened to you? What triggered it? Mm-hmm. Who triggered it? Are you aware of it? Did you just remember it? Did this video help you? You can share it. Doesn't mean because you share it, you're exposing yourself. Expose, we did that for you. So we shared our experience, and we have our Facebook group, and you can join it. It's the same name as the video today. And so you can join the group and just be private there. Okay, share your experience with similar-minded people who have been there. It's not a medical solution, and it's not a psychological replacement, but it's somewhere where you kind of like pour your guts out without being judged, mm-hmm. and have a shoulder to text on, or to lean on, let's call it that way. And for the first time, open up and talk about it. Try to put the pieces together. And I know many people who are in the group have been to similar experience, and I definitely will put their 5 cents on it without, putting your harm because we look over it. So we're making sure that the group is safe, and we only let people in that are vetted in one point or the other, because I know many people who have extreme violent experiences and nobody on their family can be in the same place they are. So welcome, you're invited to come and join us. Okay, I'm done.
Before we sign off, I just want to give a couple of little quick tips or solutions for people that notice that they're experiencing dissociation frequently. Grounding techniques are really great, like anything that's going to make you mindful of your body. So like dancing or yoga or working out or walking, anything that's going to make you like mindful of your body. And also check in with your senses. If you're having a hard time like staying in your body, start taking inventory of your environment. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? That will help like bring you back into your body and back into like some sort of center.
Awesome. That's great suggestion. And you guys who watch and have dogs, here are some tips that you can use to help out with that. How about you breathe with your dog?
Breathing.
Try to get in the rhythm of your dog's panting. And only do it with your belly. So put your hands on your chest and put your hands in your belly and only breathe where your belly hand goes in and out. Do it a couple of times. At the same time as you do that, I would like you to imagine yourself being like a pump and pump yourself and ground and start feeling like a tree, getting those roots out. Every time you breathe out and breathe in, get this energy flowing, get your chi flowing. Some people will use that term. And one thing else you can do is, once you're done with that, then you can go to the next level and start breathing. Now, here's where the time kicks in. You have to become time aware and body aware, because you start breathing in, hold, and breathe in. And you can do a circle. Okay? Breathing in and breathing out, and do a circle, breathing, holding the breath on the top and holding the breath on the bottom, and as you make that circle and start creating a chi flow. At the same time, imagine that every time you breathe in, oxygen goes into the bloodstream and distributes to all those cells in around your body. Each individual cell, even the tiny one, get this tiny little oxygen that you sent there with your blessing, right? And then when it's there, then you ask all the debris that's left over of those cells that got trapped in there, including the memories that we don't need it anymore, they don't serve any purpose, let them go out through the bloodstream, through your heart, let him wash it off, through your kidneys, through the meridians, and all the flush it down into the earth. So as your breathing circle continues, you literally cleanse yourself and recharge yourself, rejuvenate right now in your physical body as it happens and as you're in control of it. So every time you're feeling stressed and you feel like anxiety kicks in and you feel like blood goes to your tongue, hold on, let's breathe. Bring your dog to you. Try to imitate his breathing, except the snoring, skip that part, okay? And see how it feels. If you need help, reach out to a professional. If you don't know which way to reach, message us. We have a couple of friends who know stuff. We don't know everything, and we're happy to guide you around. Anything else to closing?
No, that was powerful with the breath, Roman. That will help with bringing you back into your body, anxiety. That was powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for relating it to like doing it with your dog. People have their pets, and let them help you. Let them love you through your stuff.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. We have a comment. Who's that? This video at first made me feel not alone. That led to a full-blown panic attack. Started with drinking the rest of my drink, the chewing on my straw. I couldn't look at the screen. I got up and started cleaning while listening. My heart is racing and having a hard time not hyperventilating. Lorian, thank you for sharing. Here's what I would like you to do right now. I would literally try to breathe. Pay attention to your dog. Follow your dog. He comes to you for calmness. Give him a hug. Let him lean on you. Let him sit on you. Take a deep breath. You know, I have been through tough times, but you're here to heal right now. And the reason why you're breathing is because you want to leave those bad memories and transmute them to something that you are here today to experience your awesome self. You're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Who's awesome? You're awesome. And ask your dog. He's there with you. He can help you. And again, thank you for sharing. Audra, do you want to add something?
I just, your breath, the stuff that you were talking about with the breath is so powerful. I suggest that, and do it with your dog. Like, let your dog love you through it. Sit down, stop cleaning, sit down, sit with yourself, relax into your body, let your dog hold space with you, and start focusing on that breath.
We are here with you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for watching today. And I really love you guys.
Me too.
Thank you, Audra.
Thank you, Roman. Bye.
Goodbye.
Come have a coffee with survivors. Audra and Roman inviting guests and holding space to discuss the healing journey to reunite with our true selves.
We see you, we hear you. Welcome to Coffee with Survivors, our safe place.
Are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm about to close. Yes,
I wanted to tell you before you close up, please keep posting updates on the house, because I love watching those videos. Seriously, it's amazing to see what it started out as and what you guys are doing. It's incredible.
You know what? It's a healing center, and every time I do things, it's just a healing process.
Well, I feel like just even watching the videos, like I feel like I'm a part of it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the energy's being shared with me, and I'm sharing back. So please keep posting.
I will.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Give Barbara a hug for me.
I will.
Okay.